Hey everybody, so a very interesting project came into the shop, and this is a really solid frame. It's a store-bought piece of furniture, but it has not been done properly. I'm not picking on the person who did it or the manufacturer who did it, because to me it's a skill that just has been kind of, avoided out for some reason. The skill part of what we do is, if you've seen my YouTube videos, you know that I'm trying to teach the skills that have been lost. And this is a good representation of lost skills from a manufacturer and to the person who did this loss, who I don't know who it was, but there's been some mistakes that have happened. Now, if you look at the frame, I love the frame. And the mistakes are all in the seat, by the way. The arms, there's a couple of things on the side here that I don't like, a pleat here that I'm gonna upgrade. But this video is all about upgrading furniture. There's a lot of store-bought furniture out there that people tend to throw away because they haven't paid much for it, and they think the cost of reupholstering is a little bit more expensive than what they paid for it. But we can upgrade furniture and put it into a whole different category, into a higher end category. And that sounds unbelievable, but it's true, and it all comes within the upholstery. So I want to show you that. I want to demonstrate that. So when the customer brought this in, they said they didn't like it. They loved the length. It's a hall bench. But they didn't like the way it sat, they didn't like the way it looked, because this customer is very discriminating. They know that there's something wrong, but they just couldn't tell what it was. I knew right away what was wrong. So I'm going to take this apart and show you. First of all, I knew just by feeling the edge that it didn't have any edge roll. So I have the edge roll here ready to show you. Edge roll, especially a jute edge roll or a handmade edge roll, is the best. You have to, it's like such an essential. And I can guarantee you, this will be the third time this is upholstered. We're going to do it right, but the first and second time, I guarantee you that they did not have that included in the design of this piece, which is a shame because that is a key element. But a key element that a lot of people forget about or don't know about, haven't been taught. How do they expect to know? So let's just show you. I'm going to tear this apart, see what's going on in here. And this is biscuit tufting, which I don't usually recommend. I guess it's I don't like the way biscuit tufting look. I'm just going to bring this back to show you. Biscuit tufting is just like that. It looks like biscuit. Some people might like it. I just don't like it. So what we're going to do, the customer and I talked, we're going to redesign the seat the best way, and we're going to add a cushion. We're going to add a 3-inch cushion. I haven't decided completely on the size. Maybe it's going to be 2-inch because we don't want it to dwarf the arms, right? So that's been left up to me. The 1 or 2 or 3-inch cushions. I'm taking this apart. Right away I see a inexpensive foam that was used. It's turning to powder already, and I say already because I don't think this is that old. That probably shouldn't happen. I'm going to tell you that this is the original manufactured foam, and then the upholsterer took the old fabric off and went over this. It's probably not a good idea. It's not really great to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to tear this apart. So I'm not going to do this. This is more of an instructional and informative video. I'm not going to actually do this. I'm just going to show people. Then I'm going to show you the fabric that they picked and how I'm going to put the fabric on. It's a very interesting fabric. Wait till you see it. I know Kayla's going to like this fabric. So what they did here is, and they unfortunately, I'm going to cut this away because we're not going to reuse it, and we're not doing the biscuit tufting. So I'm going to cut this. I'm a little disappointed too in something else that I see. To me, they're basic things because my training is old European style training. So I was fortunate enough to be taught right. And so this is another reason why we at BroadwayUpholsterySchool.com, you guys go there. Starting July 1st, we're going to be offering supplies because we know, and also along with that, advice on what to use. And you can get a lot of the advice on all the YouTube videos that we've done. All the skill is there, but all of the materials aren't out there in the world. And I'm going to show you, we're going to be ordering materials through me, not fabric, upholstery materials, and we're going to show you what the right thing to use is. I mean, we already have shown you in all of our videos. We have such an extensive library. You guys check it out if you haven't already, and please subscribe. You guys will learn a lot, and you'll learn the right way. We'll take you along step by step in most of the videos, and don't forget the online classes. The online classes are where you're going to find the most information on the skill. So now what we're going to do is show you. I'm going to tip this up so it's missing. One thing I have to say, the webbing is the proper webbing. It's a seat webbing that they use, which is good. It's the red webbing. There's other varieties out there, but that is the best to use. So that's good. But what they didn't do, they didn't put burlap on here. Burlap is essential to use with the webbing because it fills in the gaps that are left after you web. You see those little gaps in there? It's really important. So that wasn't there. So there are two key ingredients that weren't put on this: the burlap and the jute edge roll. So, and the other thing too, honestly, I know that this is it's got some age to it, but it looks to me like the webbing wasn't hold tight enough. And that's another thing where, you need to know the proper tension on the webbing, which you guys you guys look at the other videos, we show you how to do it properly. This was not done right. It's not tight enough. Okay, there's ample webbings in there, but they're not tight enough. And I know that it's probably, you might say, well, it's got some age to it, but I could tell this is the second upholstering that was done, and it wasn't pulled tight enough. So what I'm going to be doing to redesign this, I'm going to be re-webbing it, pulling it properly, the right way, the tight way, and I'm going to be adding one of the smaller edge rolls along the front. Well, first the burlap, right guys? The burlap goes on over the webbing, and then I'm going to be adding the edge roll along both edges. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some rubberized horsehair in between each. I'm going to just spread it right across now because we're going to be doing a loose cushion. We want to keep this profile as low as possible. But just because it's having a cushion on top doesn't mean you don't want to put an edge roll in here. What's very important about that is this is very sharp. Nobody thinks about beveling that edge. I mean, if you really were thoughtful, you would bevel it if you weren't going to use the edge roll. But if you're using the edge roll, you don't want to bevel it. Does that make sense? Because your edge roll profiles a little bit over the edge, just like that. Thus the name, edge roll, right? And then I'm probably going to take about a half a layer of cotton over that, over the horsehair, and bring it out a little bit, trim it out a little bit beyond the edge roll, and then I'm going to upholster it with a piece of fabric that the customer has chosen. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a 2-inch or 3-inch, I haven't decided yet, depends on how high this ends up, 2 or 3-inch box cushion with piping, and that's what we talked about. This is going to look great. I'm going to love the way this looks. The arms look like the appropriate amount of batting, except that the finish on the top is very loosey-goosey, so I'm going to actually make that nice and straight. Might even add a little piping on over here. I haven't decided that yet, but it needs to, let me just turn it up to show you. So it's it comes out. Okay, the pleat comes out, and that's in the cutting here too. So I'm going to upgrade that. Might add, they actually have a piping here, which I agree with. That looks good. So now the fabric was another thing on this job, you guys. So it's all about upgrading, right? So we're going to upgrade, and I think those changes that we make, you definitely have another piece of furniture. You have an upgraded piece of furniture from what it was with just those changes. And then a customer brought in their own fabric. Just want to show you this. Can you see the tigers in this, you guys? Isn't that cool? You could just barely make out the tiger head down here, right? And the tail, I think it's mostly, what's interesting, it's mostly tiger tail that you see too, right? So the customer is very specific on what they wanted. They wanted the tiger head and the tiger heads along here. And then I told them that the tiger has to be turned this way on the arm, which is really traditional. So it's going to be, I don't know if you guys, let me just get out of the way. So the tiger's going to be right here, right, you guys? I'm going to turn this because this is kind of cool. Just see. You got a good picture of that, Michaela? You got that? Yeah. So set it up with the tiger, and then special request, something I hardly ever do. This is interesting. On the outside, usually what I would do is another tiger with the head going. Can you see this, Michaela, the outside right here? With the tiger head, with the tiger like this, right? However, the customer has requested, and I agreed. So this is what you do with if all you guys were going out there trying to get your own work, make sure you really talk it over with the customer, see what the customer's thinking, because the customer wants the tail to kind of flow over here. So normally we don't do that, but for this particular fabric, I said sure, why not? So there you have it. I mean, by the time I'm done with this piece, it's going to be definitely a grade or two above what it originally was due to the skill of the upholstery. So I hope you've learned a lot, and don't forget to subscribe to the BroadwayUpholsterySchool.com channel, YouTube channel, and also go on, look at the online classes to see what we have offered there. And don't forget, July 1st, we're going to be starting to offer all kinds of supplies, kits, individual supplies, and all kinds of things to make your experience in upholstery a happier one. So